You know someone like this. He has brilliant ideas, grand dreams, a sparkle in his eyes of someone born for something extraordinary. He talks about incredible projects. He lives on possibilities, but never brings anything to fruition. He always has a ready excuse for each failure. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right person. The world hasn't understood me yet. Maybe he is that childhood friend of yours, or a younger brother. Maybe he is your boyfriend. Maybe he is your father. Someone who, despite their age, seems to have stopped in time. An adult who still behaves like a boy, emotionally unstable, averse to commitments, always seeking freedom and fleeing from any real responsibility. And maybe, just maybe, part of you still hopes that he will change. Carl Jung named this psychic pattern Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy. It is the archetype of the man who refuses to grow up, who lives eternally in transition, as if he is always preparing to live, but never actually starting. He enchants with his youthful energy, his creativity, his spontaneous way. But there is a shadow behind this charm, the inability to deal with the demands of the real world. The Puer expects life to conform to his desires, that others will solve for him what he refuses to face. He idealizes the perfect woman, the perfect job, the perfect life, and when reality does not match his fantasies, he flees, he breaks away, he gives up, and returns to the cycle of unfulfilled dreams. He sees himself as too special to submit to the mediocrity of routine, when in fact he is paralyzed by the fear of failing, of being frustrated, of growing up. If you have ever tried to help someone like this, you know how exhausting it is. You get tired of giving advice that goes unheard, of offering support that is wasted, of trying to pull someone who deep down doesn't want to move. And the cruelest part, he makes you feel guilty, as if you were the problem for demanding too much, for wanting him to mature, for not accepting to live in an eternal almost. But the truth needs to be said. This man you know is trapped in a fantasy of freedom that, in practice, is a prison of fear and immaturity. And if he doesn't wake up, he will grow old without ever having truly lived. This video is not an attack. It is a mirror. And if you are watching this far, it's because something inside you recognizes this pattern, perhaps in someone close, perhaps even in yourself. The journey of the Puer Aeternus doesn't have to end in stagnation, but it can only change when the truth is faced head-on. Let's talk about that now. The Puer Aeternus is not just a type of personality. It is a deep archetype, a psychic force that operates in the unconscious of thousands of men and is often confused with charisma, spontaneity, or a free spirit. But behind this light appearance, there is something much more serious, an almost instinctive refusal to grow up. Carl Jung observed this pattern in various patients and myths throughout history. The Puer appears as one who refuses to leave the paradise of childhood, the psychic womb of the mother, where everything is cared for, protected, and resolved. He lives in the shadow of the promise of a glorious tomorrow that never arrives. He is the eternal son of the gods, the chosen one, the special one. But, in practice, he never takes charge of his own life. You have seen this up close. Men who jump from job to job, always seeking something more meaningful, who start projects with enthusiasm but abandon them at the first obstacle, who fall in love intensely but disappear as soon as the relationship demands maturity, who talk about spirituality, self-knowledge, freedom, but cannot pay a bill on time or maintain a commitment for more than a few months. And it is not for lack of intelligence, nor talent. The Puer is often brilliant, sensitive, full of potential. He has a lively connection to creativity, inspiration, and imagination. But precisely because of this, he lives in the realm of ideas and escapes the weight of reality. He wants to fly wants love without commitment, wants success without effort, wants the rewards of adulthood without paying the price of maturity. And when the world does not deliver this, he revolts, blames the system, blames the parents, blames life, but never himself. Jung said that the Puer Aeternus suffers from a disconnection with time. He is always in a not now, always waiting for something to happen first, the right idea, the right woman, the right phase. He lives in the when, never in the today, and because of this, he does not live. He merely survives, fed by dreams that become burdens. But there is another side to this story. Because the Puer, despite being immature, also carries a force that cannot be dismissed. He is the source of inner youth, creative imagination, the ability to reinvent life. The problem is not the boy that exists within the man. It is when that boy takes control of existence. And this is exactly what we need to understand next. When the shine of the Puer begins to darken, and the shadow takes control. Let's now talk about the dark side of the man-child and how it silently destroys everything around him. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. There is something magnetic about the man dominated by the archetype of the Puer Aeternus. He is light, he is spontaneous, he speaks like a poet, dreams like a visionary, and lives as if he is outside of time. He does not follow rules, does not accept labels, does not cling to anything. And this, for many, is fascinating. He seems free, and who does not desire freedom in a world suffocated by obligations, commitments, and empty routines? But here lies the trap. This freedom is an illusion, a carefully constructed disguise to hide what he fears most: reality. The Puer is not free. He is a fugitive. He flees from pain, failure, rejection, frustration, the passage of time. He escapes the weight of being responsible for his own life. And every choice he avoids, every decision he postpones, every responsibility he transfers, deepens his prison disguised as autonomy. You have seen this up close. He says he does not want a conventional job because he was born for something greater. But the truth is that he is terrified of routine, hierarchy, commitment. He says he does not want to tie himself to anyone, that relationships are prisons, but in reality, he is deathly afraid of surrendering, of being truly seen, of being held accountable. He says he hates rules, but deep down, he just does not know how to deal with limits. This freedom he sells to others is, in fact, a childish refusal to confront the harshness of life. He wants to be eternal, light, unblemished, and for that, he needs to remain in constant motion, like a balloon drifting in the wind. But time does not wait, and the real world, sooner or later, demands a price. Carl Jung said that the Puer Aeternus lives in suspension, as if he is always floating between heaven and earth. He does not want to descend, does not want to root himself, does not want to deal with the concrete. But without roots, nothing grows. Without effort, nothing flourishes. And without pain, there is no transformation. True freedom is not the absence of limits. It is the ability to consciously choose what deserves your commitment. But the Puer does not choose. He escapes. And in this escape, he not only sabotages his own life, he gradually destroys the people who try to love him. And this is what we will explore now. The dark side of the Puer Aeternus, when promise turns into destruction. Let us dive into the shadow that this archetype carries and understand how it corrodes everything around it. In the beginning, everything seems enchanting. The Puer Aeternus shines with an energy that attracts, inspires, and envelops. He is passionate, enthusiastic, unpredictable. But over time, that shine begins to fade. What was lightness transforms into absence. What was sensitivity turns into instability. And what seemed like freedom reveals itself to be escape. It is at this point that the shadow of the Puer begins to show itself. The shadow of the man-child is sneaky. It manifests in small daily sabotages. He forgets commitments, misses deadlines, becomes financially disorganized, abruptly changes his mind, breaks promises. But all of this is wrapped in a poetic narrative. I'm not ready. I don't want to force myself. I need time. The truth, however, is harsher. He is afraid of growing up, of making mistakes, of being judged, of being ordinary. So unconsciously, he sabotages anything that requires maturity. This self-sabotage affects everyone around him. Romantic partners live the anguish of loving a man who seems incredible in essence, but absent in practice. He says he loves, but disappears. He says he wants a future, but never takes steps to build it. Family members become frustrated seeing him waste talent, intelligence, and opportunities. Friends grow tired of supporting someone who lives in the cycle of almost. And behind all of this, there is a suffocating feeling. He seems incapable of moving forward, trapped in an endless emotional adolescence. And like every archetype, the shadow of the Puer feeds on the unconscious. He does not realize that he is destroying himself. And worse, believes that others are the problem. He accuses the world of being boring, rigid, controlling. He sees those who have matured as traitors to freedom. And so, he isolates himself more and more, believing he is being true to his essence, when in fact, he is being a slave to fear. Jung said that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The shadow of the Puer is not to be denied but faced. The problem is not the fact that he carries the child within him. The problem is when that child becomes a tyrant, sabotaging the chance to live a full and real life. And this sabotage has deep roots, because the Puer is rarely alone. Behind him, there is almost always a silent presence that feeds his behavior and perpetuates his imprisonment, the figure of the symbolic mother. In the next part, we will reveal the role of this hidden dynamic, how the psychic dependence on the eternal mother keeps the Puer infantilized, and why breaking this bond is the only possible way out. No Puer Aeternus emerges from nothing. Behind almost every man who refuses to grow up, there is a silent figure, sometimes loving, sometimes suffocating, who protects him from the world, but also prevents him from facing it. This figure, in Carl Jung's analytical psychology, is called the archetypal mother, and when her presence becomes excessive, she transforms into the devouring great mother, the one who, instead of giving life, traps. This mother can be literal, a real, overprotective mother who did everything for her son, who never let him make mistakes, who always supported him in his falls, but who, unconsciously, prevented him from developing autonomy. Or it can be symbolic, a partner who takes on the caregiver role, a grandmother, a feminine figure who protects, nourishes, embraces, and unconsciously demands eternal loyalty in return. The Puer then becomes a man who seeks in the feminine world, not a companion, but a substitute for the mother, someone who understands him without demanding, who accepts him without confronting, who supports him without limits. This symbiotic relationship is comfortable, but deeply destructive, because it prevents confrontation with the world. As long as he is being cared for, he does not need to act. He does not need to decide. He does not need to grow. He remains in a state of eternal emotional childhood, waiting for the women around him to resolve what he refuses to face, the call of adult life. And the symbolic mother is often trapped in this game as well. She believes she is helping, that she is loving. But in reality, she is feeding a cycle of psychic dependency that drains the vitality of both. Jung was emphatic. The greatest tragedy is when the mother refuses to let the child be born psychologically. This means that, even though the body ages, the psyche remains immature, childlike, waiting for comfort instead of seeking grounding. This dynamic becomes even more serious when the Puer enters relationships. He falls in love quickly, idealizes the partner, places unrealistic expectations on her, as if she were to resolve all the internal voids he himself refuses to acknowledge. But as soon as the relationship demands depth, commitment, or responsibility, he flees. He distances himself, he sabotages. Or worse, he blames the other person. Because deep down, he never wanted a partner. He wanted a mother disguised as a lover. Breaking this dynamic requires pain. It requires separation. It requires cutting the psychic cord. But it is this rupture that initiates the true process of individuation. Growing hurts, but not growing hurts more. And it is exactly about this that we will talk now. The path to maturity and the inevitable price paid for leaving psychic childhood. It is time to look at the transformation process, how the Puer can finally stop fleeing and begin to build his own internal structure. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and gives you tools to understand yourself more deeply. Link is in the pinned comment. There comes a moment in life when the disguise begins to crumble. Unfulfilled dreams weigh heavily. Failed relationships leave scars. Life, once full of open possibilities, starts to narrow. And then, the man who still lives under the dominion of the Puer Aeternus is forced to look in the mirror and ask, how long will I live as if I have all the time in the world? This is the breaking point. The moment when the pain of remaining immature becomes greater than the fear of growing up. But those who think that maturing is a smooth process are mistaken. Jung did not spare words in describing this path. He said that individuation, the process by which a human being becomes truly themselves, is a psychic birth. And like any birth, it is made of pain, blood, and symbolic death. The first step is to face the collapse of fantasy. It is to understand that life will not wait for you to be ready, that there is no perfect moment, that no one will come to save you. It is to recognize that the real world is not a hostile place, but rather the only stage where something true can happen. That growing up is not betraying your essence, it is building it. But for that, one must mourn. The mourning of the idealized boy, the mourning of the imagined life, the mourning of promises that were never fulfilled, and above all, the mourning of the symbolic mother. Killing the boy within does not mean suffocating your creativity, your lightness, or your dreaming soul. It means no longer using him as an excuse to escape from life. It is allowing the boy to continue existing, but now under the leadership of the man. Maturity requires construction, structure, consistency. It means saying no when it is easier to escape, committing even when you want freedom, working with focus even when inspiration does not come, being present in a relationship even when the idealization has already crumbled. It means trading the ecstasy of the new for the transformative power of continuity. And here lies the secret. When the Puer is integrated into the adult man, he does not disappear. He transforms. He becomes the source of creativity, vision, and intuition. But now channeled by a mature, firm psyche, capable of acting in the world. This is true rebirth, when the eternal boy stops fleeing from reality and begins to build with it. But this process is not easy, and it does not happen on its own. Many men at this point in the journey feel lost, exhausted, not knowing where to start. They know they need to change. They know the time of psychic childhood is over, but they do not know how to take the reins of their own life. And that is precisely why the video continues. Because in the next segment, we will speak directly to those who are at this point of transition, those who want to change but still do not know how. The time of truth has come, and the decision to grow is finally in your hands. If you have made it this far, it is because something inside you recognizes the urgency of what has been said. Perhaps you have seen this pattern in someone close to you. Maybe you have seen yourself in every word, and there is no shame in that. None. Because all of us, to some degree, carry the temptation to remain children in a world that demands maturity. We have all run away from some responsibility, dreamed of shortcuts, and hoped that life would offer us comfort before we were ready to face it. But the truth is simple and brutal. Life does not wait. It demands, it requires, it tests, and sooner or later, you will be confronted with the choice to remain trapped in the world of promises or finally cross the bridge to the world of fulfillment. And this crossing is only possible when you choose to grow, not when you feel like it, not when everything is perfect, but when you decide, with courage, that it is time to stop running away. Carl Jung said that the person who does not confront their own demons will be condemned to meet them at every corner of life. The Puer Aeternus is one of those demons, one that hides under the name of freedom, authenticity, misunderstood genius. But, in practice, it corrodes your roots and prevents any solid construction. It will not disappear on its own. You need to face it, acknowledge it, integrate it, and above all, choose to be greater than it. Maturity is what is born when you stop waiting for someone to come and save you and start saving yourself. When you understand that responsibility is not a prison, but a path to power. When you realize that true freedom is not doing whatever you want, it is having enough internal structure to choose what is necessary. And now I want to hear from you. Which part of this video impacted you the most? Comment down below. Be honest. Sometimes, writing is the first step to giving shape to what you felt. And if this video made you reflect, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Someone who is trapped in the same cycle and may not even realize it. And it doesn't stop here. The next video is just as important as this one. It will show you another essential piece of this puzzle. Keep watching. It may hurt, perhaps, but it will free you. And in the end, that is what matters. Real freedom.